Hey, what's up? I'm Q Unique, well, not formerly of the Arsonists family, Rocksteady crew, and Stillwell. I guess I was around 11, 12 years old. I was living in the Bronx, and I happened to be in the Bronx at the time when hip hop was, man, I don't know what the best word to describe it is. I could just put it into like what I saw. Like I saw the original, like the trains with scene pieces on them. They would go right by my school. Rocksteady crew used to come to my block and hang out. I had friends that were in the Zulu Nation, so I was surrounded by it. I was just surrounded by the original four elements. I mean, at the time, we didn't see it as that. We just saw it as that was what we were doing in our neighborhood. I mean, the first craziest memory I have was I was about 12, 13 years old, and with Rocksteady crew, they were already famous with doing the movie Beat Street and Wild Style. So for us, they were like superheroes, you wouldn't think. And there was a kid that was older than us that lived on our block who used to hang out with them. And on my birthday, he brought Crazy Legs to my house, and I was just a kid. And so I was like tripping. It was like, I guess, I don't know how to compare it, but it was just, for me, it was somebody I looked up to as like a hero. And I remember, like, I was a kid, I was like trying to give him birthday cake and all that stuff, but it was crazy. And then a few years later, I'd end up becoming a member of the Rocksteady crew. So my mom, she enjoyed what I was doing. She didn't really understand it, and it was funny because when I started getting more serious, like as a lyricist, obviously for me at the time, I was studying Kane, Rakim, KRS. And I would play, I would buy the records, and I would come home and I'd play them. And I'd have my mother sit and I'd analyze how these guys were putting these rhymes together as a student. And I'd break it down to my mother. And she was enjoying it, but she didn't really fully understand what was going on. And my father, he just loved music. So he would inspire me in different ways, because he was the reason why I perform on stage the way I do, because he would make me watch like a concert of like some other type of artist in another genre, and he would point out, look at the way that artist is moving, look at the way they're using their hands or their eyes to gesture or captivate the crowd or motivate the crowd. So that was like a seed that he planted. And both my parents are musicians. My mother's a guitar player, my father's a trumpet player. So music was, from as soon as I can understand, music was always in my household. The Arsonist thing for me as a lyricist was probably the most important moment of my whole career. One of the most important. And that's because at the time, CNC had just ended bad. Then I tried to do another group called the Nomads. And during the course of that, I ran into Destroy. And we were rhyming in a cypher together, and I saw his energy. I'd never seen anything like it. And we exchanged numbers, and we were building on the phone and stuff. And then we met up again at a death row party when Dre was still on death row. We were building again, and he's like, "Yo, come out to Bushwick, meet the rest of the crew, or whatever." And I hung out for that whole night. It was like 1,000 of them, and it was like this energy that I had never seen. And I just knew in my head that I had to be a part of it. Like I had to be a part of this. So I kept on going out to Bushwick, hanging with them, and then finally, because of the people I knew in the underground, like Bobbito and Stretch and all of that, I was like, "Yo, let's get together. Let's record a couple of tracks, and I'll get it over to Bobbito. We can get a record out." So that's when the session and Halloween had happened. And from that point on, just that what they encompassed was just this rawness and this realness that I felt in my own soul, especially after coming from Fantasyland with CNC Music Factory. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just, it's a lot of money and, stuff that, big Hollywood stuff. And from going from there to what I was looking for, which was this raw, hip hop, real like skillful thing was just a blessing, you know. And the session was, you know, that first record just catapulted us into something that I would have never predicted. It was amazing, and you know, I'm still in contact with the guys to this day, and we always reminisce about the incredible stuff we got to do, and you know, from time to time we work on stuff together. I think now what helps me is that I'm not loyal to one genre anymore. I used to, when I was with the Arsonists, and before that I was like some sort of hip hop crusader, and I don't believe in that anymore. I believe in just making music. You know, after the Arsonists and I did the Q Unique stuff, I started recording with Fieldy from Korn, and that just opened up. That's like one of the most important parts of my career, because it just opened up my mind to a whole new thing. For me, I'm not afraid of change. If you look at me through the years, going from CNC to Arsonists to Nomads, Stillwell, Q Unique, it's all different. And I've never been afraid of change. So when I started recording with Fieldy, it was like a new chapter, and that's what keeps me fresh in my mind. It's to be able to experiment and listen to something new and challenge myself to see if I could do that, like what I did with Stillwell. Whether it comes out successful or not, I don't know. That's upon the individual. What do you think is successful to you? You know. For me, I got to do arena tours. I got to record an album with Fieldy from Korn and Webb from POD and my friend Spider. And, you know, that in itself is successful, you know. The fact that we actually pulled it off, that we recorded. And what's interesting is that from that, I started recording like a jazz funk album with Fieldy because he's a bass player. So the challenges just kept on falling on the table for me. So it just opened my mind to that, and that's what keeps it fresh for me. I think that if I had to just, for me personally, if I had to just keep on just rhyming, I would get bored of it after a while. So it's the challenges of all the other things musically that are going on out there. Back then, if you told me try to play the guitar, or you know, try to produce a jazz record or a funk record, I probably would look at you like you had 9 heads. It wouldn't make sense to me. And now, especially after the experience with Stillwell, you know, I try to play a few chords on things. I know, you know, I'll put together a jazz piece. I work with my son is a saxophone player, and I've been producing like jazz. Like I produce the background music from the bass, the drums, and everything. And he'll just come on, he'll play the sax. So I think that in itself is something that can intimidate the average person, because you could look at something and say, shit, dubstep? I don't know, man. And I'll look at it like, I'll give it a shot, you know? So I don't have that fear of wanting to accept the challenge. At this point, I just want to be somebody that's really taken seriously when it comes to creating music. You know, somebody that people look to as the go-to guy. Oh, we want to do this project. Oh, let's see if Q's available. Let's produce this. Let's do that. Because especially within the last 7 years of running with Stillwell and experiencing the whole Korn experience, you know, a lot of opportunities fell into my lap, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting the challenge of producing a funk bass album, or when Chi from the Deftones was in a coma, Fieldy gathered a bunch of metal artists, including the bass player from Metallica, you know, the guitar player from Seven Dust, and we got them to do like a We Are the World type of record, and I was the co-producer. So it was like to be able to be responsible for something like that is something that I really enjoy, and I would love for people to look at my catalog and obviously have love for it, and also to have that respect of me being a solid recording artist.